Yay!
I think it's going.
Yes, we're here.
We're here. And yeah, I'll introduce you in a second, but more than anything, I just wanted to say hi because this is awesome.
It's so awesome. And hi, and I've missed you, and I'm
I
so
miss
happy to
you.
like be talking and
I
catching
know.
up.
This is what the world's for, and we don't do enough of it,
Correct.
I think.
I agree.
So I'm going to introduce you. This is Kate Ballou. She is the word witch.
Hi,
She is,
everyone.
and when I say I like that's all caps and bold. You are the word witch. You're the only one.
No, we're all word witches.
Well, you're like the what is the witch of like the owner of the witches or the master witch.
I'll be the Miss Frizzle of the word witches,
You're
you
the
know?
Miss Frizzle of the word. You're like all of the witches in Wicked. All like you're the one that controls all of them.
Like let's get on the bus. We're
Yep.
going on an adventure.
Through the universe and
I'll make
space.
sure we've got the gas, the map,
Exactly.
the snacks.
You decide where we go. So you are the author of The Word Witch, and you worked with Tamed Wild, and you do. Basically, the reason why I wanted to interview you, you're just like the raddest person I know. And I was like, my community and your community, I feel like have a lot of overlaps.
Yes.
And I know that I've dabbled in introducing you to my little community before, but I feel like they need like a more intensive interview.
We did that very fun summer solstice newsletter together.
We did. But this is better. Now people get to know you. And I have like weird questions that hopefully people don't ask you all the time because I was like, I want to ask you stuff that you probably don't get asked a lot.
We love weird.
That's what I love too. And I didn't send them to you before intentionally because I feel like off the cuff is like the real stuff.
Yes. First thought, best thought. And we're friends, so it's easy. Yes.
Exactly. And I even put one question in there about us being friends.
Yeah.
You'll see. We'll get to it. I have them broken into little categories. I think there's 15 total, which is that's intense.
Yeah, we're gonna get into it. Before we get into it, also your Janet Jackson sweatshirt. I love it.
Isn't it so good?
It's so good.
Addie was in, I think she was in maybe, I think she was in Portland, and she called me and she's like, oh my God, Tyler, I found a sweatshirt for you. And I said, well, how much is it? And she's like, it's expensive. It was at a thrift store. And she's like, it's like $50. And she's like, that is not thrift store pricing. And so I said, well, send me a picture of it. And I wrote her back and I was like, I don't care if it's $150. And so here it is.
Sometimes one must find the treasures of the world, you know?
I completely agree. And it's the softest shade of pink. It's like my favorite hue of pink that ever was.
It's perfect.
Pink's my second favorite color.
What's your first?
Charcoal gray.
Ooh.
But it's only because of rain clouds. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, now you have 16 questions. What is your favorite color?
Has to be blue.
Ooh, is there a particular shade or hue?
Kind of like that, like deep, not quite indigo, like not quite as purple as that, but like approaching indigo blue.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I just love black too. Like I'm always wearing black. Like it's my color.
Yep. I think black's my number 3. And then number 4 is that really weird shade of green. It's the pH one. Is it phthalo green?
I don't know how to say it out loud, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
I love that color. Oh my gosh. This is going to be so fun.
Yay.
And like I said, I just want everyone that knows me to know you because, first of all, your Substack probably at this point, you're probably bigger than I am.
I don't think so.
Well, if you're not, you deserve to be. And so if you're not, then this is going to be a push to try to help that become a reality.
I just love when when friends get to make stuff together.
I couldn't agree stronger with that statement. I have so much crap on my desk. There's just crap everywhere, like little prayer flag rolls.
Love.
Yeah.
I also have this very strange things. We could do desk show and tell.
We should. Like, look at this key. Oh, that's a good one.
Oh.
That's a hotel key.
That's fun.
Ooh. Look at those antlers. Where did you get those?
It was a shed at my grandpa's house. So it was sat on his desk and now it's on my desk.
It belongs there. Oh, and then you would like this one.
What else have we got?
It's made of brass.
Oh, I love that. A creature for a creature, a Pegasus.
Armadillo and a Pegasus. We should write a children's book about the armadillo and the Pegasus.
Oh my gosh, we should.
That are best friends.
I would love that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you some interview questions.
Okay.
And I want you to just answer however your heart sees fit.
I'm ready.
And I'll go in order because that's about the only semblance of order that we will have today.
Perfect.
Are you prepared?
I think so.
Okay. They're really easy. And I just want to learn more about you. Number one. This is the most professional I've ever been. Which people watching this are going to be like, that's a problem.
No.
But it's okay. How and when did you first realize that the act of writing poetry and the practice of witchcraft were linked to you?
I feel like, and I'd be curious to know your answer to this too. I feel like it has been sort of this lifelong knowing and then unknowing and then remembering process. Like, I feel like when I was young, I was very aware of like sort of the strangeness of like the apparition of a poem. Like, I was like, wherever this is coming from, you know, I just have to get it down. And so that always felt very magical to me. And then I feel like there was this time where it was kind of like, okay, well, I have to like study the poetry. And I think I kind of like got a little lost for a while.
Yeah.
Where it was like they were two separate things to me. And then I think it took moving to New York and really like immersing myself in a situation where I was surrounded by a lot of professional witches and magic makers for somebody to kind of be like, well, what you do with poetry is the same thing. And then I was kind of like, oh yes, of course, I've always known this in this like bodily, like innate sort of earthy way. But it's like, I think sometimes and I just feel like a lot of my practice has been about returning to things I loved when I was young and the things that I knew and have always known. And it's like, okay, like how do we get back to that? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. My answer would probably be almost exactly yours with like one distinction. But I wrote a chapter in my little like life reboot book called Miracle in the Mundane, and it was called Be a Conduit, Not a Conductor.
Oh, I love that.
And I think that's where my answer would be the exact same as yours. From when I was really little and poetry was the thing that kept me okay.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I sat down, I never like sat down to write a poem. It was, I sat down because there was a poem. And,
oh, yeah.
And so for me, like you just said, it always felt like a weird bit of magic where I wasn't writing anything. It was just like going, and I almost, because I've been struck by lightning. And so I always envisioned it as like that. It was like, I have to just let it come from the clouds through me and then down onto the paper. And all I'm doing is like, I'm just like letting it pass through. And that's what felt magic to me. It was, I'm not writing this. I'm just letting it be written by me.
Yeah. It's like the antenna.
Yeah.
I think about, in the old like Sumerian story in Nana's Descent, it's like it starts with her turning her ear to the great above and the great below. And I always feel like that's like writing a poem.
Yeah. You know? Like a tunnel through you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. And where my distinction was, I was always very, very sensitive. I never wanted to study poetry because I was so afraid that if I learned how to write a poem, then I would no longer write them how they were being presented to me. And it would start to be written like somebody else who wrote a poem.
Oh, yeah. I think that can happen a lot.
I do too. And I've noticed that with friends who are writers.
I feel very lucky that I had teachers that I feel like were also conduits. And so I feel, but I have heard from others kind of that direct reflection.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a buddy who writes poetry, and I noticed he got really into, can't remember who the poet was, but he got really into this other poet and was reading him almost exclusively. And then for the next year, every poem that he sent me sounded exactly like that other guy's poetry. And I was like, this is really good, but it just sounds exactly like that, not like you.
Yeah.
And that bothered me.
I think there's this like beautiful moment where like learning to imitate a like impulse, like a creative impulse can be such a helpful thing because it's like, oh, I feel this in this way. But then I think that there always has to be like in a teaching pedagogy, this moment where you like make sure to give the person their voice back in this way of like, hey, like remember this isn't the end all be all, because I feel like that's what gets lost.
I totally agree. And I feel like I'm very sensitive to that, and I see that a lot, especially because there's such a divide. And actually have a question about this later.
Mhm.
There's such a divide between, I feel like there's a very critical divide right now in poetry. And I've written about this before, where there's like a gatekeeping that takes place.
Yes.
And it's like, this is a poem and it's by a critically loved poet. And then
Mhm.
this on this side is like insta poetry or whatever. And it's not real poetry. And I think there's such a weird divide between those that I've noticed that there's been poets who wrote one way and then lost their voice, like you said, because they had their head turned and were looking at the critically acclaimed stuff. And so then you can watch this progression of their work turn into that work.
Mhm.
And maybe at that point they received more critical acclaim, but what did they lose in the process?
Yeah.
And I wonder about that a lot.
And it's interesting because it's like, how do we parse out just like evolution of our own selves as artists? Like we're constantly growing bizarre, strange creatures who can make different work at every point. But it is an interesting, like, it's like, how do we develop as writers that sort of checkpoint where it's like, okay, this is me,
Yeah.
especially because there's so much noise in the world. And it's like,
So much noise.
I think that the Insta poets and the academic poets need to get into a circle and
Yep.
give each other some compliments or something.
I
Like
totally agree. I totally agree.
everybody, let's get together.
Let's do.
It can all be good and important and beautiful.
It
Like,
should all be good because it's
yeah,
also just like the delivery mechanism of the day, do you know? Because I don't know if Walt Whitman had access to that large of an audience when he was wandering around after tending to soldiers in the tents. There's no way that he would have been like, no, I'm not going to let these guys read it because they're from, it's just I don't know. I feel like we share our art with the medium of the day. And
totally.
there's,
Also, I would have loved to see Walt Whitman's Instagram. Are you kidding?
can you imagine? I bet he would be one of the people who's always photographed somewhere in New York, and it would be mostly for his outfits,
Mm-hmm.
like how he's dressed. It would be like Esquire would have like a style of the day, and it would just be him every day, just standing there with his hat and his beard.
So funny to think about.
AI is going to make that, that now.
We can't tell them. We can't give it away.
Okay, number 2. That was a brilliant answer, by the way.
Thank you.
You are, and again, I've already said this, all caps, the word witch. So what I want to know is this. What role does intention play in the actual art of arranging those words on a page? And how does that compare to like casting a spell?
Mm,
And are they the same or are they different?
that's interesting. Well, I feel like intention is what differentiates, because I think that you can have word witchery and I think that you can have writing. And I would say that there is a natural inherent magic to writing, but I think in order to kind of cast a spell or do word witchery on purpose, that intention is integral. And I would say that that's how a spell starts too, is it starts with that sort of like crucible of vision or intent or purpose, and then the thing kind of comes out from there. And I think that it's sort of what you're saying about conduit. It's like you got to like put the antenna up or like, like turn your ear up or down or whatever to be like, okay, now I'm listening. And I think that that intention is kind of what sets those gears into motion. Do you know what I mean?
That's totally fair. It's almost like the first has to happen in order for like intention has to be the root. And then once it's there, everything else kind of spirals out of that.
Yeah, and I think it can be kind of like a deep inner knowing. And, I'm open to I think it was Pam Grossman on our podcast. She was like talking about magic and she was like, I don't know why it works, but I know that it works. And I was like, yeah, like that is so potent. It's like I I know that the writing is magic, and I know that the opening to the possibility of magic is such a big important part, but I don't always know why it works. It just works.
Yeah. And I feel like maybe that some of the power is in the not knowing.
The mystery of it itself. Totally.
I feel like too much of the magic does get lost the more we understand. But then I also feel like that there's an inflection point that happens, like the more science that we learn about the universe. Like some people feared, I know there's a lot of people for a long time that feared that would take away some of the magic. But for me, the more science that I learn about the natural world, the more magic that makes it to me.
Yes.
Which is kind of amazing that it's like it's almost like a peak. Like it rises to this point and then it tips over. But on that peak, it's a really beautiful place where it's like the more you don't know, it makes it magic. But then also there's certain spots where the more you understand, the more it makes it magic.
100%. Because science isn't not magic just because we know how it works.
Yes. Yeah.
So fascinating.
Speaking of, I dropped a package off. You just said the word mystery. I dropped a package off at the UPS store the other day, and the girl's name was Mystery.
Wow.
And I was like, you have the raddest name I've ever heard in my life. And she got really embarrassed and she was like, really? I don't really know if I like it. And I was like, your name is Mystery.
I'm obsessed because I feel like mystery would respond that way just for fun.
I know. Just to be a little bit like a little more mysterious.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that you actually met Mystery at the post office.
Well, because where else would, if not the UPS store in Helena, Montana, where else would Mystery be hiding?
I mean, that if not there, nowhere.
Nowhere in the world. Okay. Number 3. You're doing so good. I don't know if I'm doing good.
You're doing amazing.
The only person I've ever interviewed was Sarah about what it's like to love someone who has autism. And it was like a total train crash, but it was fun. And so
it was beautiful.
Well, that's what was led to this idea. She's like, you should just interview a bunch of cool people that you think are cool.
Yeah. And I can't wait to watch all of them.
Well, and just so you know, the reason why I'm doing yours first is because this interview will go out on this day.
Beautiful.
Which is like, am I correct in assuming that's like 3 days after your birthday? 2 days?
Yeah, I'm the 29th.
Yeah.
And also that's on Imbolc.
I know. That's why I made it that day on special.
It's perfect. It's the best day to talk poems.
It is. Yeah, there's a bunch more interviews coming. I'm going to be interviewing my friend Ash, who is another autistic poet who is Welsh, but he lives in New Zealand.
Amazing.
My friend Gregory Alan Isikoff, who is a musician who we all love and adore.
Wait, yeah, I feel like I know him.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. You probably, I guarantee you have his music on one of your lists.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, he's like my brother from a different mother.
I can't wait.
And I think he hates doing interviews, so it's going to be really fun.
Those are the most fun.
They're the best because he's like, I think he's so upset. I asked him yesterday and I was like, hey, can I? And luckily he has until October of like next year. So he has plenty of time to get real angry about it, which will make it even more entertaining.
Just give someone a year to stew on
That's
something.
exactly why I did it. Because I knew if he knew it was like this black cloud looming, then it would just really start to get things festering. So by the time we had the interview, he would just be like, you're an asshole.
It's the sand in the oyster that makes the pearl.
It really is. Speaking of, is there a specific element of writing for you that you find holds the most raw, transformative, magical energy in poetry? Is there like, whether that's like, do you get lost in rhythm or in imagery or in metaphor, or like, is there a certain part of writing that you feel like the kernel of magic hides in the most?
I think for me personally, it's story. Like I know that when I hear a story or even like work with my own memory as story, like I feel like that's always what gives me the hinge for a poem.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little different than maybe some of the things I do from like a more of a witchcraft perspective, like working more seasonally or working with invocations or circle casting, but I know that when I sit down to write a poem, I look for the thread of a story. Like I wrote a poem maybe like earlier this year about Chopin's heart, which I didn't know about, that his sister had to smuggle it out of France back to Poland. So that's why the heart isn't with his body. And I learned about it in that Jesse, what was the movie? Jesse, the other Culkin, and
Rory,
you know what I'm talking about?
Or Kieran?
Kieran Culkin, and then Jesse Eisenberg.
The guy who's on
movie
Network.
Yes.
Yes.
A beautiful movie, but they were talking about this. And so I immediately was watching the movie, had to pause the movie, do a research, like some research, and then write it, because it was so present with me. And I was just like, okay, like that's what has to get transmuted onto the page. Or like thinking about like Hecate and the crossroads. Like if I'm thinking about story, myth, folklore, the thing that kind of binds us all together is humans in sort of this like ancient ritualistic way, that's it for me.
Yeah, that makes total sense, because especially like when I think of witchcraft, especially over all the centuries, I think that story is the binding element. It's the past, and it's like the passing down of those stories.
Yeah, and that's how we like hide the wisdom. You can hide it in a story, you know.
Yeah, it's like putting like your kids' vitamins inside like something candy.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
it's like
what the Flintstones were doing.
So basically your poetry is the Flintstone vitamin delivery mechanism for all the lessons that we need to learn.
Like children, listen, gather around, tastes like candy.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Hansel and Gretel, that totally makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, and a lot of those stories too are about, you know, initiation, like coming of age, claiming your power, listening to your intuition. It's like you don't visit the house in the woods where the crone lives and expect to come back unchanged, you know.
No, nor should you.
No.
I love that. Good answer. You're so good at this.
What do you think in your poetry? Do you think story is like a
so I think if anything was to be the genesis for me, weirdly, it's like I always have called it like the randomities, which is not a word, but
it is here. It is today.
It is now. My brain like is very osmosis-y with my autism, and it just picks up things all the time. It's almost just like it just never is closed. And I
you have a foraging brain.
I really do. And but it's almost more like like if you could have a foraging brain that was like covered in a special kind of magnet where it like just goes. And so most of my things are born very similarly from yours in story, but it's more like random things that I learn throughout the day, or that in passing, or something I hear. And then it feels like magic still, where that plants itself and then that turns into something else. And so like in my latest book, I have a few poems that I call them my science poems. And so basically they're all these like weird scientific things that I have found out or learned. Like I found out there's a species of goose in South America. And I think they're one of only a few creatures that they know of that love so deeply that they will take their own lives if something happens to their life partner. And so there's literally these geese where if they lose, I know, I wrote a whole poem about it. Like if they lose their chosen partner, they will jump off of a cliff and then refuse to fly, which is just insane. That goes against every instinctual, you know, animalistic element of survival. And so like a whole poem came from that. Or like I read another one that the very last thing that Jim Harrison wrote, his last unfinished poem, the last words he wrote on his paper that they found on his desk after he died was God's body. Whoa. And I think that was what the phrase was. And so then I just imagined like, where was he going with that? And what was he? And so like, that's where so much of mine is born, is from these little things that I learn that I just want to know what they are. And then it just goes.
Do you keep track of them, or do they just live happily until they're ready to kind of come
Mhm.
through in your brain, or do you keep like a little journal or?
Sometimes I'll write down like I probably in my notes, I probably have all of these unwritten little phrases that I don't even remember what they mean. And they sometimes come from dreams and they sometimes come from things that I overhear. And it's just, like one of the little tidbits I read was every time Cormac McCarthy traveled, he always brought with him 100-watt light bulb, like wrapped up in his clothes in his suitcase, so that wherever he went, if he was in a hotel or a friend's house or wherever, he could unscrew their dim light bulb and screw in his bright one so he could write as long as he needed to in the night.
Okay, but bright lighting is not
The
fun.
worst? No, but I just thought that was such a beautiful thing that he
It's
felt
so
such an
interesting.
impulse that he was like, well, what if I need to write and it's dark?
Yeah,
I carry this fragile light bulb with me.
it's fascinating.
Isn't that wild?
Do you want a fun science fact?
Yes.
Right. And until recently, scientists had never seen eels mate in the wild. And so basically what they did is they realized that all of the eels were congregating basically in the Azores and then traveling all together to the Bermuda Triangle and the Sargasso Sea, and then that's where they mate. And
Like
that's why,
in mass?
yes, they all go to the Bermuda Triangle.
Of course that's where it is.
Eels.
In
There's a US Weekly article about
I
it.
have
Like,
to read it. I'm gonna write that down. All I'm writing down for
so
notes is
strange.
eels mating.
Eels mating in the Bermuda Triangle.
Of course it's there too, like amongst all of the lost ships throughout history.
Yes, they've been lost to the eels.
And that's why they're electric, probably.
Probably. It's like it's in The Princess Bride, remember, with the eels?
Yeah, it is the shrieking
eels.
Oh my god. Okay, number 4. Dude, we have so many more to go. This is awesome. What poem is your most potent spell? Like, do you have one specific poem that you've written that you're like, wow, that changed my life, or something in your immediate reality after you wrote it?
Yes. It is. I'm gonna make this. I have to make sure I don't mess up this title, actually.
And when
I
you
wrote
do
it a long time ago.
I will post this if that's okay with you. I'll post it with this answer.
Yes. Where is it? 1 second.
No worries. Hey, we have no rules to this thing.
Amazing. Okay. It's
I mean,
called.
unless you're busy.
No, I'm not. Ooh, where did you go?
I'm hiding.
Okay, perfect. It's called Go You Kinder Creature.
Okay.
And I wrote it when I was at Sarah Lawrence getting my MFA. And I was going through a very, very, very difficult time in my life. I was in a bad situation. I'll just leave it at that. And I was just grasping at straws in my life. And I was just like, I actually don't know what I'm going to do. And so basically I had just started grad school. I was in this situation. I decided to adopt a dog. I was living alone in this apartment. I was just like, I was working 40 hours a week. I was working teaching in a prison. I was working teaching 7th grade creative writing. It was just like the most, and I remember being up really late at night, and I had that phrase stuck in my head, which is why I didn't want to mess it up. It was just, go you kinder creature, go you kinder creature, go you kinder creature. Because I was just like, I'm not gonna let this make me hard. Like I'm not gonna whatever. And it's this very strange poem. It's almost like a call and response type of situation, but it's one of the most witchy spells. And I feel like I wrote it as sort of this calling out for help, like to magic, to the witches, to the ancestors. Like there's a line in it about the speaker kind of talking to her ancestors who answer as spiders, and like sort of this way of like, and the spiders are like twist, repair, twist, repair, twist, repair. And I felt like I didn't write it at all.
Yeah.
And it was a message of somebody being like, hey, like And I don't love a lot of the work that I did while I was in my MFA program. I think it taught me a lot of things about teaching and about workshopping. And I just don't think I was at a place to be creating my best like creative work. But that poem is one that has really stayed with me. And when I read it, I still feel like it's a message from the other side to keep going.
Oh my God, I love that.
Thanks.
Oh, I love that. And even that title, it reminded me, have you ever watched any of the old British show Doctor Who?
I have not, but I feel like it keeps coming up and I'm like, should I watch it?
Yeah, but you have to later, I'll tell you where to start, what not to bother with, and then where you should go. But there's one episode. So you know, like the essential idea of it, right? There's this.
No,
Okay,
nothing.
well, so there's this person called the Doctor, and I very specifically say person because what he at the time is of a species called Time Lords from a planet called Gallifrey. And so they have two hearts, and when they die, they don't die, they regenerate. Their energy transfers into a new like bodily form. And so in the show, the reason why they did that was they would replace the Doctor with different actors throughout the year. So like maybe like David Tennant was the Doctor for a couple years, and then Christopher Eccleston, or he was first, and then it went to Matt Smith, and you know how they do that. But there's this, so basically he just travels around time and space in his little phone booth. It's a telephone police box. That's his target. Brilliant. Yes. And he basically just goes and investigates the world and the universe and time, and he meets different creatures and different people, but he always ends up having to fix some problem wherever he goes. And there's one episode, it's about so it takes place in like what would be New York, but far, 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 far in the future. And this is going to be really hard to explain, but you'll just have to work with me here. So it turns out that the rest of the earth got destroyed, but New York ended up on the back of this creature called a star whale, which is very similar to like the Native American idea that like a turtle back is supports the world. And so this star whale has to keep flying through space in order to keep New York from falling. And the way they keep him flying is whoever is president at the time has to go down and make sure that it is electroshocking the star whale's brain, which is causing immense amounts of pain.
Oh, no.
So the Doctor goes there, finds out that this has been happening for centuries and centuries and centuries, and wants to put an end to this torture. And so they go down, and I'm not going to give it away, but anyway, basically the line that happens that is so exactly what you were just saying is all of those centuries of unkindness just made the whale kinder. And it's, instead of responding in turn, it went the other way, and it just absorbed all of the unkindness. And so your title, Go You Kinder Creature, it's exactly that. So even if you've never seen it, you have to at least watch that episode, because it will like absolutely break your heart now that you just said what you said.
I'm like, whoever wrote it sounds like they lived in New York. I'm like,
I was like, oh, siren lights your face.
Exactly.
So yeah,
I will definitely watch.
That's a perfect answer to that.
Do you have a poem for yourself?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. You know what's weird about it? When I write, once I write it, I don't ever read it again. Like once it's out of me, I just don't even want to see it anymore. And like, you know, I sell prints and stuff to help pay our bills, and so I have to like revisit them sometimes to find them.
Yeah,
because I don't have titles on any of mine. Mine are just numbers, and so someone will bring one up, and I'll be like, "What one is that?" And then so I'll have to at least see a few of the lines when they tell me which one they're ordering. But otherwise, I tend to never read what I write again, which I don't really know why. That's probably a weird thing, maybe, but.
No, it makes total sense.
Probably for my brain, it makes total sense.
Makes sense to me. I mean, you could say anything. I'd be like, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally get it. Okay, well, this is actually, the siren was the most perfect segue to this question. It's like I planned it.
Perfect.
How does practicing a traditional craft like witchcraft work with the complete opposite reality of New York City life?
Classic.
I know, it's like
I
I need that siren to come through.
I have found that New York City is the most magical place. People are always very surprised. They're like, "Oh, we expect you to live in a cabin in the woods." And as you can see from my backdrop, I have found a cabin
You definitely
in
have.
the concrete jungle. But there is so much nature here. Like, I have great faith in the pigeons. I have great faith in the rats. I love my neighborhood dogs. I have my dog Banjo who's here with us. I see this oak tree every day. I had pumpkins growing in the little like block garden across the street
Yeah.
from me, just like because somebody had thrown their pumpkin there in the fall, and the next summer the pumpkins grew. And so I find, and the amount of people that are drawn to this city that are witches and artists and strange makers and change makers and all of the things, it has this sort of innate feral energy to it that I think that the concrete might just emphasize or something.
Yeah.
It's the dirt is not that far under the
No.
surface. And I didn't really, when I moved here from Michigan, I did not think of New York as being on the ocean. Like that was never really something that occurred to me. The rivers didn't really occur to me. And when I moved here, people would be like, well, let's go to the beach. And I was like, what? And so I would pile into someone's car, and now I have a car, and we would drive out to the Rockaways in the summer, or, and I've seen dolphins out there many
Wow,
times, and like
that's
it's
so cool.
magical, but it's
Yeah.
like, I think people see New York. And I think that, in some ways, my neighborhood is as small as I mean, that's an exaggeration because I grew up in a town of 4,000 people, but I can walk down the street and see, I don't leave my house without seeing someone I know.
Yeah.
And so it has this sort of communal, chosen family of people that have moved here sort of energy that I think really lends itself to witchcraft.
Yeah. I thought that was, I figured you would answer something just like that. And I thought
Mhm.
I think though, something that I will say that speaks to you, I do also think that like magic is drawn to a magical energy. It's almost like the 2 feet off of each other. And so I think that like having you where you are is quite possibly part of why the pumpkins grew and why you've seen dolphins, because I feel like those kind of things are drawn to that energy. And I also think that it goes back to our intentionality thing. I think that you can find magic wherever you are as long as you're
Mhm.
looking for it. And I feel like that sets you and other witches like you apart, because if you're not looking for it, you're never going to find it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that we can all do is
I do too.
make an intention to pay attention. I had this teacher at Interlochen when I went there for summer camp growing up. And she told us about this neighbor that she had, that every morning he would run out onto the front of his lawn, and there was a gong, and he would hit this gong and he would yell, pay attention, your life is moving very quickly. And I think about this person that I've never met
Yeah.
all the time, because it's like this sort of like charge to pay attention to our lives. And like, if we do, like you're saying, like how much magic might we see?
Oh yeah.
Sarah Paulson the other day went on a rant about the pigeons and how magical they are, and I was just like, I've been saying this. Like,
Yeah. Yep, I totally agree. Well, and that goes along with, so I think for me, my version of your witchcraft for me has always been Buddhism, because it's like when I found it at 12, it was so revelatory and so steadying for the things that were so hard for me. And it's just, I've gone deeper and deeper the older I've gotten. And it's the exact same thing. Mindfulness is the current that is interwoven through the entire spirituality.
yeah,
And that's exactly what you're saying. If you're mindful and you find beauty where it is, it's everywhere. It's just, you have to make that shift. Like you said, the rats, the pigeons, the everything. There's beauty in everything. It's just so many people, I think, get pigeonholed into thinking that it has to look like something else.
Yeah.
And what a tragedy that is.
You just got to tilt your head sometimes, look at it a
You
little
do.
different.
Yeah. And it's like you said, like putting your ear to the above and the below. I always say, like, when you said that, my mind immediately went to like when I was a little kid and I used to stick my head on the railroad track when my granddad, because he was an engineer. And so
Wow.
he taught me how to listen to hear how far away the train was based on the sounds in the metal. But it was always interesting to me because I could hear the train, but then I could also hear the birds at the same time. And just
Wow.
that idea that you were so rooted and connected to something miles away, vibrating those tracks, but then you're also here at this exact moment listening to the birds that are above you.
Yes.
And I love that idea.
Would you call yourself a witch? I would call you a witch if you wanted the word.
Well, I have a question about that later too.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, we'll revisit that. So, okay, speaking of changing your perspective, because this kind of actually weirdly ties in again to these questions.
Perfect. We're in a flow.
I know, it's perfect. Instagram gave rise to the worst thing, I think, is the term that is so divisive, Insta poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to know is, what is your take on the difference between Insta witchcraft, which is kind of like the more performative and more influencery and like where you can tell that it is definitely done for an angle, and that angle is usually to sell things, versus the more personal and, like, as we've seen so far, the far deeper practice that is magic and witchcraft that I feel like you are such a embodiment of.
Well, thank you. I think that some people would really disagree with me here, so I'm gonna tread carefully. But
Okay.
I am of the mind that every expression of a thing is a part of the thing itself. Like everything has its place and its gradient and its shade. And I have heard people, really deride these witches on Instagram for being performative. But I'm like, if one child or teenage girl or something saw that person from Kansas or something and was like, I could be a witch too, then like, what's the harm? And I think as long as there's no harm or, sort of trickery going on that, I of course don't mean like excluding all hateful intent, but like, if people want to dress up, if they want to make products and sell them, like a girl's got to eat, like,
totally
like we live unfortunately in a capitalistic society, and I think that can be such an extractive thing. But I also think like glamour magic is real. I think dressing up and playing the part of an archetypal witch is real and can be so fun, and makeup can be fun. And I'm a little bit like, it takes all of us. And I don't want to kick somebody out because it just looks different than me. And I feel the same way, like I said about poetry. I'm like, we all just need to get in a circle. Like there are so many more hateful things that we should be focusing our energy on getting rid of, or like rather like closing a chapter on, versus like each other, because we need everybody.
I totally agree. That's exactly how I thought you were going to answer that question.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of like the very end of Practical Magic.
Yes, with the Dustbuster.
And like at the end, they wear the very traditional like costumey witch hats when they stand on the roof of their house, even though they are very real witches. But like, it doesn't matter. It's like you said, if that encourages somebody else to join into the party and find something locked in themselves, that's exactly what we need. That's exactly how I've always felt, and why I've always been so bothered by the divide is we're all doing the same thing. We're just calling it different ways, and we're creating all of these little micro divisions that don't need to be there. They're all the same. We're all saying the same thing, and same thing with religion. We're all saying the same thing. We're just using different words to do it.
I'm always like, go back a little further in history. Go back a little further in history. Go back a little further in history, and then it's like, where do we end up?
Yes.
But, and I mean, like a witch's hat, though now costume, I mean, like that conical design was to connect the wearer with the divine. Like it acted exactly as that conduit sort of
Yep.
situation. And so I think like a lot of what we see as one thing actually has roots in another. And so,
Yeah.
but like instead of getting curious about that, it's like, you know, people want to hate. And I mean, it's the same with, like you said, the sort of Instagram poetry divide. I'm like, if more people read poems because it's formatted on social media, great, more people read poems. Like,
Exactly.
not everything is meant to be for everybody either. And I don't go into the world expecting that everybody has made everything for me, you know, like, so
No.
even, so it's like, you know, I don't read every book. I don't watch every TV show, but I don't walk around being mad at the books that were written that I'm not reading.
No. No. Good answer. You're so good at this.
Thank you. You ask
Okay.
good questions.
Well, they're just things that I'm curious about, and I don't know how to do interviews. So I'm like, I'm just going to chase my curiosities.
I think that you do.
Well, we shall see if this endures time. Okay. What is one example of a daily ritual that keeps you grounded? Do you have something that you do every single day that you feel like if you don't do it, you feel a little bit floaty?
Yes, a couple things. Well, I have to be drinking this burdock tincture that I love so much.
Okay.
Keeps me grounded. Also walking my dog. He's sitting here. That's why I looked at him. He was paying attention at one point. But I feel like part of that is like, yeah, spending time with him, but it also is a reminder, like if I haven't left my house yet, because, you know, I work on a computer, like, and I try to go work out in the mornings, but that's not every morning. And so at a certain point in the day, like Banjo will look at me and he'll be like, it's time. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. Like we need to go for like our long walk. And we go to the park and we do a lap around the park, and there's beautiful trees, and I see all the same other people and their dogs, and sort of mark the seasons in that way.
Yeah.
Like every day it's a little colder and darker earlier right now. Every day we walk a little faster. Every day I see everybody else's scarves and hats. And that gives me like a lot of like clarity of like living. It's like the grocery bags, the laundromat, the flower shop, the church. Like they were putting up the nativity scene yesterday when we came back from, and there was like 6 men with ladders trying to hang stars up on the front. And I was like, Banjo and I watched them for a little bit, and I was like, isn't this like nice? And so that ritual is deeply important to me.
Yeah. That's a perfect answer.
Do you have
I
one?
always think walking the dog is a huge one too. Sarah and I do that every night, and it's always dictated, like, you know what time it is without looking at the time, because Gilly comes over and he's like, hey, what are we doing here?
They're so wise.
It's so wise. And it's funny because when a human construct like daylight savings time comes along, when it happened, he came over and I was like, dude, what are you talking about? It's like only 3:30. It's not walk time. But to him, it was 4:30, and it like he doesn't know of daylight savings and that we have a clock with a hand on it that needed to go back 1 hour. It was his time to go on the walk. And when that day happened, I remember like it triggered something in me right there where I was like, oh, I need to live in more in tune with the season too. And these human constructs that we've made of clocks and of all this nonsense, that's not what should guide. And so right then we went and we online we bought you know, the candles. We don't burn real candles because Sarah has bad asthma, and if she breathes that, she gets bad. So we bought the ones that look real, but they're like LED flickering.
Yeah.
And they're like they look so real, and they're warm light. And I bought like 12 of them and put them all over the living room. And so every night now at 4, we just turn them on an 8-hour timer, and that's our light. And we almost never turn on big lights. And I was like, historically, our bodies at this time were responding to these waning lights, and we had candlelight and campfire light and, you know, hearth light. We didn't have LEDs in different Kelvin. And so watching my dog be so grounded and in tune with the shifting made me realize that I needed to be better about that. And so I would say, yeah, the daily walk with the dog is probably the most grounding thing. And then similarly, I have to have tea every morning and every afternoon, and it's tea and the dog. So probably your exact answer.
Coffee in the morning, tea at night, or
Yep.
tea and yeah, it's perfect.
That's awesome. Okay.
Also, someone just mailed me 2 flameless candles, and so I just got them this morning. So it's funny
Weird.
times. I'm excited to try them out.
I love them because, like I said, with Sarah's asthma, it gets really bad if she's breathing in any wax.
Yeah.
And so shifting to these, they look like if you have the ones that I have, the flicker is so subtle that from far away, it just looks like you have a candle burning.
It's so soothing visually.
It is. I really love it. Okay, we're doing good. And if you do have to go, you can tell me. Like, you do not have to waste your whole day with me.
No, I'm having a great time.
Okay, good.
Whenever.
Okay, you are to me such a graceful soul. So what I want to know is, how do you cultivate and maintain that grace amidst like what is honestly a mountain of bullshit that modern life and the news cycle and this administration and everything being thrown in your collective direction, both as a young adult and as a woman and as an American and as all these different things? How do you maintain that grace? Because I feel like there's a lesson in there for a lot of people who feel very lost right now on how to do that.
Yeah. Yes. And just
basically
honor all of us in our not graceful moments, because, oh my gosh, we have a lot to be righteously angry or anxious about. And thank you for saying that. I feel I have an Aries moon, and I was a temper tantrum of a teenager. I will tell everybody that. But I feel like I have a lot of privilege. I have a lot of support in my life. I have a lot of help. I have a lot of my husband is very grounding for me, and he's been a relationship that's been that for me. So I feel very like lucky to be in that. Again, Banjo and my dog, like this apartment, like I feel like those things that allow me to kind of like ground down. But I think that my perspective is when I start to feel the pressure of everything, I try to make my field of focus like a little bit smaller. Like if the world is getting me down, I call one friend, or I volunteer for a cause that's super like local to me, or that, like my grandma rescued dogs in Southwest Michigan. And so like I have like run a fundraiser for them, because I'm just like, okay, like what is my sphere of help? And if everybody focuses on their sphere of help, then we could all make it better together. And so I'm like, not all problems are mine to fix. And I can't be in that space of everything to everybody. And so that has been something that has felt very just like a gift of small community in big places.
Yeah.
There's the benefit of like being with people or one-on-one relationships, and then seeking possibility, or like asking a friend, like, what do you need? Or even sharing like, I need help, because I think that can be a really hard thing to say. And that's something I've tried to do as I get older. And all of that keeps me a little more level. And then I also just have to do a lot of cardio to burn off energy.
Totally fair.
Yes. But yeah, thank you for saying that, because I don't feel graceful all the time.
Whenever I think of you, that's like, yeah, you almost like, I always feel like you move through the world like liquid. And I think that's the highest praise I could offer, is that you just remind me of, I don't know enough about the signs and all of those things and like our like moons and stuff. But like, to me, you move like water. And I think that's such an amazing thing, because it lets you, I mean, it's like what Bruce Lee said, don't be the rock, be the water. And I always feel like when I think of you, it's always like that motion. Like if I were to embody you in like a motion, it would be like a dress underwater.
Mhm.
That makes sense. And I feel like that's how you feel to me that you move through the universe. And I think people need that because so many people feel like they are either the thing that's about to be blown over or that they need to be the thing that is doing the blowing over. And I feel like more people like you need to pop up and be like, no, you can float with this and you can move around this and you don't have to like erode the obstacle right now. You can move around it and eventually just you being there will do the erosion.
Yeah, I mean, and even the rock gets eroded by the water
Yep,
over time, it's
exactly.
like, and we
It's
all
just,
have tides. I had a friend that teach me this she was like, I do 2 meditations a day. And I was like, because I was like, I'm losing my mind. This was like maybe 10 years ago. And she was like, I've got 2 things for you. She's like, you wake up, you say, whatever. And then you go to sleep and you say, so what? And I was like, actually, like, yeah, I'm open to whatever, like that sort of openness, like
yeah,
whatever will be. It was so helpful, especially at the time.
yeah,
And then that so what, like when you're laying in bed and you're like, oh, like I shouldn't have done this, or I did this, or what am I gonna do about this? It's like, so what? So what?
yeah,
Tomorrow will be another whatever. We can be
yes.
open to that possibility and we can release whatever that was. And I think it's a really, I don't know that it's always helpful, but I think it can be
I
helpful.
think it can be too. I definitely think so. That's perfect. Okay. Do you have an object or a thing in your world or in your house that you feel like the deepest spiritual connection to besides your dog?
Ooh, I'm like, what's on my, like an object?
Yeah, there's something in your world that like when you go near it, you can feel the resonance of that thing and be like, whoa.
Yes. I will show you.
Okay.
So my aunt gave me this silver bracelet for my 13th birthday, 14th
Okay.
birthday, and I have worn it every day since. I can look at a photo of myself at 15 and I'm wearing this bracelet, or I can look at a photo of myself from yesterday and wearing this bracelet. And so there's something really interesting about the I don't know, like the concurrent selves. Like my face changes, my hair
Yeah.
grays, my weight fluctuates, my style's different. Like where the photo's being taken is different, but there's this really interesting artifact that works as an anchor. And when I put it on, especially in New York, I'm like, okay, like putting my my armor on,
Yeah.
like it feels very protective in that way. I almost lost it once at an airport. And I ran back as I was boarding to security to get it. And it was sitting there. And yeah, that was when I was 22.
Oh
And
my
so
God.
it's just a very special
Yeah.
artifact to me.
Well, and isn't silver, there's also something to that, right? Too. Silver is such a like historically significant element too, as so it makes sense that that would also connect you to the piece.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Do you have any pieces?
I also have 2 bracelets that I won't leave without wearing.
Mhm.
Both of them are just Buddhist malas.
Mhm.
And one of them has like the eye of protection on it. And so if I'm ever, anywhere where things are just a bit too much for my autism, I have 2 different Buddhist mantras that I say as I go around doing them on my hand. So I'll slide it from my wrist to my hand and I'll just sit and I'll say each mantra until I get to the one smooth glass one. And then it's my longer mantra. And so that is similar with you. That's probably the most grounding and like when I can feel it when I touch it and when I put it on, it's same thing as armor. Like I won't get on an airplane without it. I
Mhm.
mean, I won't leave without that one thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I totally feel that too.
Jewelry is such a cool way to like enhance, like to have like a spiritual mindfulness practice going out in the world, and no one
Yep.
has to know what it is then
Yeah, it feels like
either,
a
which is so
secret.
nice. Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay. If you could create a modern version of like a very historical spell book or grimoire or whatever, are there 3 non-magical normal items that you would put in there? Like, what are the 3 like totally non-magical things that like, like Eye of Newt in the really old one? Like, what are 3 weird things that now in a modern one, if you were rewriting it, would be like, you must, before you begin your practice, you have to have these 3 non-magical normal things in order to like get to where I'm getting you? That's a weird question.
No, I like it. I'm like, what are 3 strange objects that huh.
And if you need to revisit that one, you can. If like
Yeah.
if 2 things need to come to mind at a different juncture, if they just come to your brain, just blurt them out.
Well, so it's funny because my friend Malou has this like list of dinner party prompts, and one of them is like, if there were someone who's to have a seance to bring your spirit back, like what would they put on the altar? And people
Ooh,
say like all sorts of funny things, and so I was just kind of trying to approach it from that thing. It's like,
yeah.
what are 3, like a lot of martinis come up in that question. Like people are like, you could get me back with like a dirty gin martini and like and a bunch of like vintage jewelry or something, you know? So I'm like I'm like, what is the modern equivalent to some of those things? A pair of black boots.
Ooh, okay. That's a really good answer.
Yeah, I pretty much exclusively wear black boots.
I just ordered a new pair of black boots yesterday.
I love them. They're powerful.
They are powerful.
Wear them for your spell. A Muji pen. Obsessed with these pens.
I've never used one, but they look amazing.
Yeah, you got the 0.5. I'm 0.5. My friend's 0.3. Oh, whoa.
I write like, I need it like bold. I don't want to feel the paper.
So this, and then like, what do we got in our shelves?
I know, that's a good question.
It's a really fun question. Black boots, a Muji pen, and I'll just see what I have in the drawer. Andrew didn't like that. See, everything like looks magical to me. I'm like, oh, like
that's a perfect one.
We'll just draw this out. Yeah, this is my grandpa's.
Oh,
I know.
Does it open?
It does. It has a little deer.
Oh my gosh.
You know.
Does it still work?
Work? No.
No.
But open, yes. Let me see if I can do it. My nails are very long right now. Maybe not. But
by the way, your nails look exquisite.
Thank you.
Every time you wave them around, I'm like, yeah. Okay. What is one societal norm that you will just say is totally flawed and wrong?
Societal norm, I think, is wrong.
Like, what's something that everyone either does or says or accepts that you're like, wait, what? And it makes you just so confused that has just become somehow a normal thing and an accepted reality. I saved all the hard ones for the end.
I know. I'm like, what stuff bothers me. I know it does.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like there's people like you and me and so many of us who work in these ways. We inherently we become like little things of hope for people without even really being assigned that task. We just adopt those tasks. And I think that it's sometimes helpful. Like I was just reading about Buddhism. They had this old lama, this Tibetan lama, and they asked him, they were basically like, oh, you're always so peaceful and positive and wise. And, how can we learn to be more like that? And basically one of his answers was, well, you have to accept when you're really angry and that you get very frustrated and that you're mad. And like, he's like, you can't be just one thing. Like, if you don't acknowledge the things that upset you, then you're not living true. Like you're not being, and like even the Buddha always spoke about how the biggest blessing is that we have these bodies that are built to wear out and get sick and get hurt, because that's the only way we can actually be tested in our mindfulness and in our peace and in our spirituality and all of that thing. And so that's kind of what I'm asking is there something that our world is like agreeing upon right now that you're just like, this is horseshit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's lots that like small groups are agreeing upon that I think is definite horseshit. But like, I'm like, what is something like small? Like, I was trying to think on a small scale. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, I hate when people make plans knowing they're going to cancel them,
Ooh.
like that makes me mad.
Just have the courage to say no.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe like we could also just like be a little more kind of like bandwidth and stuff like that. Like there is, I think that we kind of too are living in this world where like the internet is always on and we've accepted that. And it's like,
Yeah.
what if we like, and I mean, I am guilty of that. I'll scroll on my phone like late at night. That I'm no exception to this, but I think that the internet always being on, the constant intake of the churn,
Yes. Yes.
and that's of a lot of things. It's
Yeah.
like we could all slow down a little bit.
Yeah. Your answer literally was going to be mine. My
Really?
societal thing was going to be the absolute normalcy of giving up. And this came up just in our house just yesterday. So Addie has been averaging 6 hours a day of screen time on her phone, which I found out is like a little bit above the like adult national average. But as far as young people, it's like 2 hours under most young people.
Whoa.
Which just blew my mind. But when it really resonated for me was when I like did the math of it and I said, Addie, that's 3 months out of every year that you're on your phone, just looking at Instagram. 3 months. Like imagine if you got to summer every year, like to June, and then from June until you went back to school in September, those months were gone. That's how long you're on your phone. And that's just normal. And like everybody's doing that. And like you go to a movie or you have people over and you're having a conversation and like you're on in the middle of speaking and they're just like, oh yeah, I'm listening. And I'm just like, how is that? How did we all just like sign up for this thing where it's like, and it's funny, there's this old YouTube video, you maybe have seen it. It's called like, Oops, I Forgot My Phone.
No.
So it was made 12 years ago, and this girl made it. And what she did was, it's a short film she made for YouTube where she like woke up one morning and she was with her boyfriend and she went out to do her day in LA and she forgot her phone back at home. And it shows life all around her, all the things she does, the people she goes and has lunch with and everywhere she goes. And this is 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone is on her phone.
Mm-hmm.
And no one ever even listens. No one watches anything. Even when she goes back to snuggle with her boyfriend, like the lights off and his face is illuminated and he's scrolling. And I watched that like 8 months ago, even though it was, again, like 12 years old. And it bothered me so profoundly that I looked at my phone. And at the time, I think my daily average, and it's hard for people like us, because like you said, we have work on our phones. But my daily average was like 1 hour and 59 minutes or something was like my usual average. And then I started doing the math on that and I was like, oh my God, between sleeping and cell phone, like that's so much time. I just am not even. And so right then I just freaked out and I was like, my phone is now a landline and I'm turning the ringer on and it's in the other room. And if it's loud, I can hear if someone needs to speak to me. And if I want to communicate with messaging or whatever, I can do that while I'm working on my computer by linking the two, but I'm done with my phone. And now I think like, let me look. So my weekly average, like last week, let's see. So my average this week is 24 minutes a day. Last week was 24 minutes a day.
Beautiful.
And honestly, it has changed everything, like every single thing. And it's such a weird thing and that's when I was like, how have we all just signed up for this thing where we're watching other lives that aren't our own? Even like reaction videos, we're watching people watch videos.
Yes.
And I'm just like, what are we doing here?
It's very interesting. I walked on the sidewalk sometimes. Well, I go to this Pilates studio and there's like a very busy like alley, like a throughway sidewalk situation. And I have been noticing that people will just like walk right into you because they're on their phones. And I'm like, this is such an interesting dynamic. And I used to be one of them until Cody was like, you need to stop that. And I was like, you're absolutely right. And so I've been trying to like do that. But when I picked my head up, I was like, oh yeah, there's like a whole world here and I need to re-engage with this and like figure that out. Like today I was walking back from Pilates and there was a little like flower booth and I was just walking by and the guy was like, do you want a free flower? And I was like, okay, like, you know, like the world's happening, like you won't get a free flower on Instagram. And like, no. But it is our work and it's striking a balance. But I think like I'm not necessarily one for New Year's resolutions. Like but you know, my birthday being in January and starting the new year and all this stuff, I sometimes like to like recommit to like a word or something. And
sure.
Like last year's was commitment. I was getting married. I was writing a book. I felt like I had to be committed to everything I was doing. And like this year was like creativity and like really getting some things out there. And I think this year when this comes out might be attention. Like I really want to claim my attention back from like I need to get better at reading again. You know, I want to be in that space. And so, but yeah, we've accepted it as normal and I want us to question it.
Me too. I totally agree. Okay. We only have 4 left. If poetry is a spell, what would you say the target audience is for your spells? Is it for you? Is it the world at large? Is it some other being? Like, who do you feel you are writing for with most of your writing?
I think it depends on what I'm writing. You know, like I know you and I do a bunch of different kind of modalities of writing. It's like the podcast is one thing, my weekly newsletter and those prompts and the poems that I write with my own prompts are really for getting people to write, like people that are looking for scaffolding or support or like creative play. And then, but I think that the poems that I really like write are for me, probably like past and future me, with the hope that maybe it can tell a story or speak in a cohesive way about something. You know, Word Witch was one thing. I'd like to do some other writing projects that will maybe be another, but it's like it goes back to that first question of intentionality. You know, I think that that intention can really grow and change, but yeah, the magic itself doesn't really.
Absolutely. Good answer.
Who are your poems for?
It's funny, just to release the pressure. I think that's always been what it is for me. I never, ever, ever, ever intended on anyone ever reading anything that I've ever written, ever. I've been writing poetry since I was like in 4th grade. We did this unit in my elementary school. I had the 2 most like Roald Dahl teacher names you could ever have. I had Mrs. Heffelfinger.
Wow, yeah.
And Mrs. Armbruster.
Perfect.
And like so Roald Dahl. And Mrs. Heffelfinger was the first person that ever introduced me to writing poetry. And at the time, like the dip into the pool was like this old cowboy poetry that on, you know, cattle drives, these cowboys would sit around the campfires and they would tell these little cowboy poem stories to each other. And so that was the very first time I had ever written a poem. And I remember I was supposed to write a cowboy poem, but then I think I don't know, however old you are in 4th grade. And I started writing and it stopped being a cowboy poem. And it was like somebody just like poked a little hole right here and just let everything drain out. And when I got done writing, I was like, oh my gosh, there weren't any like rules I had to follow. I just got to let go of the pressure. And for a little while, I was like, oh, I feel lighter. And then, especially with my autism, like I said, it's just always absorbing everything all at the same time. And it just builds up. And then I have to let it out. And then, so that's always been what writing is for me. And no one ever really, I never thought anyone was going to see it until Sarah's like, you need to start sharing some of this. And I was like, why? And then that's what started everything. But for me, it's just that it's pressure release. If I don't, I feel like I'm going to explode. So That's kind of selfish, probably, but
No, it's like cycles of creativity. It's like
yeah.
it kind of models that ebb and flow of like everything, you know?
Hmm.
And if it gives somebody else the permission to also release the pressure, I mean, that's everything. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
not selfish at all.
Well, good. I'm glad you think that way. Okay. If you had to distill, this is the hardest question. It even says after I wrote this question, this one is impossible. And then ha 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 ha.
Fair enough.
If,
I'm ready.
if you had to distill your entire worldview into one sentence, what would like that incantation be?
Ooh. Well, I kind of did it for the book. I did.
Okay.
So I have a 3 point. It's kind of single sentence.
I'll give it to you. You can use commas.
Um, like, let's not mess it up. Got it.
And it's a beautiful book, by the way.
Thank you so much.
I love
The
it.
visual aspect of things, as you know, is always so fascinating to work through. I was like, it feels really important to me that it's blue.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Everyone is creative, everything is connected, and writing is magic. My worldview. The guiding beliefs of a word witch.
That literally is perfect. You just throw commas instead of periods and you have it. That's perfectly answered.
Yes. Thank
I
you.
love it.
Do you have
Okay.
yours?
Can I borrow from someone else?
Yes, because it's your question.
Okay. This one's funny. And it's been misquoted like 50 times, so I'll probably misquote it too and just add it to the pile of misquotations. But
Perfect.
Whitman said once, "To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle."
Mm.
And I have always believed that. And it's like, especially the part about the light and dark. I think so often people stop and it's so easy to find miraculous in the light. And it's so easy to be happy when things are good. And it's easy to be positive when things are going your way. I think the work of life is to find the same amount of like deep and abiding love for the hard stuff that you have for the light stuff. Especially like the first noble truth of Buddhism is that life is suffering. And everybody hears that and they think, oh my God, Buddhism is so negative. And it's like, how would that be your first principle? But once you understand it more and you really go deeper into that, it's true. And so there's this Buddhist koan called "The Cup is Already Broken." And are you familiar with it at all? So basically, it's a way of reconciling the inevitability of loss that's going to come. And so anything that you have, like anything, whether it's a person or an item or whatever, I mean, like even the prayer flags are designed to fall apart in the wind so that each one of those threads is carried and it's a prayer and a wish sent somewhere else. But if you look at the thing and in your mind's eye, you just imagine it on the ground in 1,000 pieces being swept up and put into the bin. That's the truth that life is suffering. But then when you open your eyes back up and you look at it, it's still a cup. And every minute from now until then is a miracle. And that's everything to me. And I think it's why I grieve different when people in my life, I lose them. Because I've always held so tightly onto that idea that there is equal amount of weight and beauty in the light and in the dark.
Yeah, and I mean, how do we get each thing, you know? There is no shadow without a light to cast it.
Yep.
There is no shadow, or there's no light without a shadow. Like that it's a both and always.
Yeah.
Gotta have both. Always have both.
Gotta have both. All right, 2 questions, and the last one's a gimme, so you'll be fine. But this is an interesting one.
Okay.
If you asked me earlier, do I consider myself a witch? So this is the question. Though we are kindred spirits in many ways, and you've even honored me once by calling me a fellow witch, on paper, we are very different from gender to geography. So my question is, why do you think we work so well as friends? And what is it in me that allowed me into your life and let you call me what I believe to be like one of the highest compliments I've ever been given, is to be called a witch by the word witch.
Mm. I feel like, because what happened? We got connected through social media,
We did.
and you and Sarah were like, it was during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and there was something so bright about your invitation to connect. I think we had DM'd, I was reading your poetry, and the three of us got on this Zoom call, and it was just like it was balm for the soul conversation. And I think it was just in a time of so much intensity and pressure and questioning, to be connected across time and space and difference, and also like not really even knowing somebody,
Yeah.
but sharing a cup of coffee around like our metaphorical hearth here, and being like, but look, we still have poems, and like, look, we're like, we have these relationships and strangeness and hope for the world, and like all of these things. And it was just, I remember just being so struck by both of your openness and kindness to a stranger on the internet calling yourself a witch, and you were like, I want to talk about this. And so
Yeah.
I just feel like there is so there's so much of a gift and a genuine offering of friendship that can transcend almost anything else. And I think it's such a magical thing when against all odds we are able to make those genuine friendships,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it can be a cold world. And so it's but I think when we make these, we remember that it's a little bit warmer, because it's like, well, if the three of us are connecting in this way, like think about all the friends we have in between us along the road. Like
Yeah.
if we all, then that combines the friends, and then we share all of the friends, and my friends are
Yeah.
your friends, and your friends are my friends, and all our family. And I think, that's why I share the word witch with you, because I think you believe in that community and kindness and magic in the world. And that is what witch is to me.
Yeah. Perfect answer. Like I
Thank you.
said, I told Sarah that the other day. I was like, she was so excited. She's working at Food Share right now. And she
Mm.
was like so excited that I was doing this. And she said, I still can't believe that she calls you a witch. And she's like, that's so cool. And I was just like, because I mean, like I said, we just think you're so awesome and rad in so many ways. And so, like I said, I think it's the highest praise. And so when you ask me, do I consider myself, only because you allow it. And I feel like you can only be called something by someone that truly is something else. And so if you call me that, then I call myself that, but not before.
Mm. See, I feel like we can claim these things for
I
ourselves. Like,
I agree, but I think you would feel the same way. Like I think that there's certain things where you have to defer to the people who are more deeply entrenched in the thing. And I would never call myself that until you gave me the space to maybe not that you are like granting it, but you gave me the space to understand it and see it. Does that make
yeah,
sense?
well, maybe that's what friendship is, right? It helps us see like the things that we want to claim
Yeah.
for ourselves, or can like challenge our worldviews in like a really productive way. Like I remember I wanted to call myself a poet when I was here in New York for the first time. I was like a 20-year-old doing like a semester away from Kalamazoo College. And I went to this memoirist reading, Brando Skyhorse. And afterwards he was like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, well, someday I hope to be a poet. And he was like, well, do you think someone's going to come down from the heavens and deign you a poet? And I was like, I get, maybe that's what I thought, actually.
Yeah.
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 And he was like, better start calling yourself that. And then that really kind of changed my perspective, because I was like, better start calling myself that. And
Yeah.
so, maybe, but like thanks to the mirror of that conversation. So if I can do anything, it's to encourage people to claim their power and the names and I think poet and witch are two very potent words that we can claim. pass them around, share them.
I agree. I love it. Final question.
Ooh.
What creative or magical project are you most excited to bring into being next? Like, what is next for the Word Witch? You said you wanted to work on a book, and I totally understand this because I feel like Word Witch and Miracle in the Mundane have such similar foundations.
Mm.
And so what I want to know is you've done this now. What's your dream next project?
Oh my
And
gosh.
is it already going?
Yes, it's kind of a secret.
Oh, well, then we don't have to say anything.
Well, but I will give some like
teaser.
kernels. Yeah, because I really want it to be real in the world, and I'm also just like a little. It's still kind of
Fragile.
But I will tell you, I will tell our new friends here listening. It has to do with deer and Michigan and Midwestern myth and coming of age and love and loss and grief and becoming a writer in the world. And
Oh my God.
that will be the threads I will offer.
I think that's the perfect way to tease the next project.
Thank you.
Because all the things you said made me want to know more now. And like the minute I hang up with this, I'm like, okay, but now for reals, tell me the truth.
Yes.
Well, my dear, you nailed this. That was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, and happy Imbolc.
And happy, yeah, I know. Yeah, February 1st. We're doing it early because it's going to take me a while. I don't know how to, I've never done an interview like this before. So I need to figure out now what my next step is to like make this go from this into something else. I'm going to leave the whole video up for everybody to watch the whole thing because that's something really cool that I like about my community is they allow me to be kind of a background noise sometimes where like with the podcast thing or whatever it is, like on a Sunday, they just put it on and then they just have it be a thing. And I think that. And this will be a perfect thing to be a thing. They'll just get to enjoy their Sunday and learn and watch one of the raddest people on the planet.
Happy to spend Sunday with you, whoever's listening. Thanks for having me.
Well,
thank you, Tyler. This has been so magical.
It's been, I feel really, really lucky. And I'm, like I said, I'm just more excited than anything that other people that I know trust me. Well, I know they'll trust me to like love everything that you're doing too. And hopefully, if you're not already, this will just help more people find you. And I think that's the key to this whole thing is when we find something beautiful, we should share it with everybody so that everyone can enjoy it.
And your work in return for my friends. It's like what I was talking about, all the friends in between.
Exactly.
We're all connected. Yeah.
Speaking of, there has to come a time where you come out here and visit.
I would love that.
Montana awaits. Like literally 75% of the conversation we were having, I'm looking out over the city from where our house is. And there was a rainbow, which is super weird in December. But there's this huge rainbow that was just like planted directly in my field of view the entire conversation.
That is beyond magical.
It makes total sense. Here, wait, see if I can turn you around. People will get to see this too. So this is what I'm looking at. It might not work, but it might. Does it go out the window or does it just show you the window?
Yeah, I can see the window, but not the rainbow. But I feel that it's there.
It's there. I promise. Well, perfect. Thank you again. And I don't know how to stop the recording. Here, let me see if I can do that first. Kate Ballou, the Word Witch, the best person on the planet. Everybody, I'll have all the links to all the things, how to buy the book, how to follow the Substack, everything. Please go do that. And now, how do I stop recording? Stop recording.
Perfect.